contemplate, I meditate, then off your fucking head.
What's popping? What's popping, bro?
What's happening, man?
Hey,
I'm gonna
man.
say good morning, but good afternoon.
Good afternoon, man. We back for another show.
Yes, indeed.
Coming back to you, man. It's good to be here.
It is.
How you feeling?
I feel real good.
Yeah.
Man. I feel, matter of fact, almost excited.
Yeah, it's a good time, man.
It is.
The holiday season is here.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And we get a couple of days off work.
Definitely.
You know,
nice long weekend.
A nice long weekend.
Spend some time with some family.
Yeah, that's important.
Right.
That is highly important, man. So let's go ahead and start this, man. My name is Malcolm Yates.
My name is Andrew Nelson.
And we are The Narrative. So we appreciate you all coming to join us. We are live on cmpradio.net. We need you to subscribe. We need you to like. We need you to tune in.
Yes.
We look for your questions. We look for your participation, and we thank you for your constant support, man. So we just want to continuously be here and be that narrative to provide to the community. So what we got going on today, man? What's one of the topics that you want to discuss now?
Man, so we gonna get into a few things, all about shaping the narrative. But the first thing I wanted to lead off with, I saw, and it's a little bit old. It's not the most newest one, but since we last spoke, the former state senator, Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, she had an amazing Breakfast Club interview.
Oh yeah.
And so a couple of highlights that she spoke about. She has like this common sense approach to government, and it really like it intrigued me because she took like the right amount of flair, which I believe that's needed, right? Because when you got a message, if you can't get your audience excited, right, then they gonna be dry, right? So she had the right amount of flair, but she was very articulate and direct and clear in what she wanted to say, why she wanted to say it, and then what the impact of it was that she expected. And I really like this woman.
Yeah.
I think that she's gonna be really good in the thought leading space.
You know how you describe that, man. It sounds like somebody we know.
It does.
Sounds like a show. Clear, concise,
right?
Entertaining, articulate,
right? A little bit of flair,
right? Taking politics and putting it to you plain,
right? And changing the narrative in general.
Hey, Nina,
can you come on our show?
We need you on the show, right? Because we'll love to have it, man. And that's the thing, right? We are that vehicle for politics to get plain language, right. And we was just discussing this, man. Right. You know, we want anybody who wants to talk about politics, and you want to talk about the vote, you want to talk about getting your message out down here. You got to come see us. Come see us through the narrative, man.
Absolutely.
But back to the topic, though.
So she talked a lot of stuff, right? So I'm gonna hit a couple high points, right? So she spoke on how we need to have some kind of common sense gun reform legislation, right?
Amen.
And I want to speak on that because you know, so Andrew Nelson's perspective on this is a little bit different. I don't completely align with liberals or conservatives on this, right? Because the reality is that I want to have my guns. Right?
I do too.
I do
right?
too. So, because I believe that it's very important that if a government takes away the guns of the citizens can no longer protect and defend themselves against tyranny, right? Because the reality is that if we don't know for sure now, we can see that democracy is not a destination, right? It's a whole journey, and at any given time, democracy can be swept from underneath you. So I need my guns in case we get some tyranny going on, right?
I agree.
But also at the same time, I don't believe the amount of guns that we have so easily accessible, right, is safe for anyone.
There you go.
Right? There should be no reason why there are neighborhoods that are at risk because they have the amount of firepower that I had accessibility to when I was in the Marine Corps.
Word.
Now, with that being said, I don't see a single individual who are importing guns. So I would like to wonder how they got here, how they got on the streets, and I would like to call that stuff out. And I think that's kind of like what she spoke about, right? Yeah. That there's a lot of people in Congress who know and understand that they have legislators who are turning blind eye, right, to things that are occurring, and we need to start calling them people out. Right? And that's what I mean when I say common sense, because I don't want to start any kind of precedence that's gonna take away my legal right to carry a gun,
or
right?
cripple our community.
But by the same token, I don't want to keep on picking up the news and reading that there was an assault shoot at and masses of people died, right, in a matter of minutes before you could even have police dispatched, because another person who is unhinged in this unhinged society that we living in, right? And so that, I think that brings us to a good segue to where the senator has a clip that we could share.
Absolutely, yeah. So let's go ahead and say that and run that clip when you get a second.
Well, so and I think that would be a really good. You ready? Okay.
Minister Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are on record as defining the problem with white liberals, and that white liberals are a big threat to black liberation. But there is a group of people in our society that are let off the hook, and that's the black moderate. And I happen to believe that the black moderate is the biggest threat to true black liberation, because they are the gatekeepers in this society, in these political spaces, in these high places. And so the black community must have some more family barbecues, and we got to decide what we're going to do as a community, and stop continuing to be complicit in our own demise. I'm concerned that a segregationist governor is running the great state of Florida. I'm concerned that the things that we read about in history books, we are now reliving, and that the same spirit of like a Governor Faubus and all of those other segregationist governors and senators and reps and all, name them, they manifest through some of these people who are in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah, Strom Thurmond.
Yeah, Strom Thurmond's spirit is alive and well. Those are the kinds of things on my mind. It's on my mind that the people of East Palestine, a predominantly white community that voted over 70% for President Donald J. Trump, when a train derails in that working class and poor community, you got people like Joy Behar and all these other latte liberals saying they getting what they deserve because they voted for President Donald J. Trump. Doesn't every human being on this earth deserve clean water, clean air, clean food? And I don't give a damn who you voted for. They babies didn't vote for Donald J. Trump. We are becoming a heartless, not becoming, hell, we are another manifestation of who we are, a heartless nation. But just because that is the reality today doesn't mean it has to be the reality tomorrow. So one of the things we're working on at the new school is taking the academy. This is not just about it's not just.
Okay. So I really like the way that she delivered that, right? Because so one, it accounts for our history, right? So she kind of like brought it back full circle. And this is the history that's being suppressed, right? The history that's not being taught. And to be frank with you, I really got to try to understand both sides of the argument. Okay. Because I feel like if we don't present both sides of the argument, then we're not looking at a full picture. All right. So what's the full disclosure, right? So from a perspective of a parent, right? If I understood that when my child is going to school and learning things about history, that's not sitting right with my child and it's making my child feel guilty, right? Naturally, as a parent, I'm going to want to protect my child. Okay. And I think that is the spirit that legislators are using to rally within people, right? To push this anti-CRT critical race theory thing, right? Where it's now ballooning into where it's looking like sensory, okay, right? Where it's like, all right, I don't want to teach this and I don't want to teach that history, right? So now we're censoring people, right? We're changing history, and I think that it's very important that we do not allow that to happen, right? We got to speak out on the history that we know to be true, and I think that she's doing that, right? She's saying and showing how we got a segregationist governor, right? And how do we deal with segregationist governors? Well, we know this because we've seen in history when it's happened before, and if we're not teaching said history, then we'll be ill-equipped to be able to lead in the future.
So here's my question behind protecting the feelings of our children. Right. Didn't we learn that? Didn't we learn that history?
Oh, we absolutely learned that history.
Did that history have anything to, did that derail us or did that desensitize us? Was there any lingering effects, maybe mentally, physically, emotionally, when we learned about this history?
I mean, so if I got to be honest, honestly, yeah, right, I will say that there was a few lingering effects that, because for a while, right, and it comes down to wording and programming, right? I was taught that I came from a generation of slaves. Yeah. When in fact, I should have been taught that my people were enslaved at some point of our history. Okay. Right. And as a result of that enslavement, right, for that period of time in history, this is the result. Right. So and the key difference is the difference between me growing up believing that I came from slaves, as opposed to knowing that I came from a long, rich history of people who were not just slaves, but were merchants and were owners and were leaders.
So what I'm hearing you saying is not the fact that you learned that a part of our history was in slavery, but you wanted to know the entire.
Right. It was very important that I learned the entire part.
The entire part of it.
Right.
So it's not about
the history that I learned started with slavery.
So it's not necessarily getting taught the history. It's about learning the full and complete.
That's correct.
History of it.
Full and complete history.
And not really chopped up, not really in parts. Not piecemeal, not two weeks
biased.
Not unbiased, not 1 week out of the syllabus, not 1 month out of the year. Right. Only 1 month out of Black History Month, right? So how can we actually teach it history when we always condense it and put it down to a minute curriculum?
Right. And I think that's where it becomes important for us now, right?
Yeah.
So if we understand the battle that we're at, and like the senator did on a very large scale, right? She was able to call out that history, right? By name. She represented, she spoke on the racist bigot, which is Strom Thurmond or whatever. I hope I messed his name up because I would like history to remember and respect people's names who should be remembered, right? And those people who have those dark histories, well, whatever, if we mess their name up, right? It is what it is, right? And she called out the segregationist governor that we have of Florida.
That's right. Ron DeSantis.
And I fully understand that he's a representation of his electorate.
He is.
Right?
Absolutely.
And, excuse me. And this is where, this is where my trouble comes in, where I'm like, all right, so he's representing people who are going to vote for him. Who's representing people who are being silenced? And that's where it comes in for us. And that's where the great senator or the former senator spoke on there, and I think that's where it's important for us, right? We got to do that work. We got to speak that history.
You're so right in speaking that, but she also had a piece in there that really struck home to me, and she was saying that the gatekeepers are the Black moderates.
There we go. Yep. So the part where she said we've been warned a lot about liberals, white liberals in control, right? But not as much as those Black moderates who are acting as gatekeepers. And let's get into that.
And let's be for real. I'm gonna say we, because I identify as a centrist. I identify as a moderate. I am not a progressive. I am not a conservative.
Right.
I am strictly in the middle. I say that all the time.
Right.
I'm about what's right, not who's right.
Right. Same.
I'm about for the people, not for the politics.
Right.
And us moderates are the gatekeepers.
Yeah.
But how is it, or how do we get other moderates to come to the table to one, self-identify? Because some of them think they're progressive, right? Or some of them just being there playing both sides.
Right.
Right. I don't play both sides. It's about one thing for me.
Right.
So how do we get those people at the table? And then how do we also, or what should we do to get them to understand, like, we have this say power, and how to I guess push it out to the people.
Yeah. So maybe you could balance me on this, right? And I'm actually hoping that you can, because in this point, my militant mind is kicking in, right? So because what's coming in the back of me, as you saying this, what's coming at pierce the veil. So what does that look like? We got to call them by name, right? Who are these people, right, that we see who are acting as gatekeepers?
Yeah.
Right? And I think that if we're able to begin to look at their policies, right, and study them and start calling them out based on the effect of their policies. Okay. And I wish we had like a echo effect or something to do that, because that's what's important. It don't matter how that law is written, right? What matters is the effect. And see, our ancestors, our forefathers, our people before us, they understood that. And they started demanding that legislators took into account the impact of the legislation and held the impact of the legislation in higher regard than the words of the legislation, right? So the legislation may sound that it was neutral when you read it and when you hear it. But if the effect of the legislation becomes to where it oppresses a community in spite of its neutral language, it is called out and ineffective and reversed. Right, protections are set against it.
So we don't have. So I guess what I'm hearing is we don't have those people that calls it out. Yeah,
I mean, in short, and I think that, so us as self-identifying moderates, Well, first, I think we've already began that process of calling it out because here we are on this show right now.
Absolutely.
Right? Trying to bring forth the education for people to critically think about these political scenarios.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that's where it's like, okay, well, prayerfully, this will get a reach and people can start looking at Congress and looking at state house legislation, right? And start seeing how these legislators are voting. What are they voting for? What are they voting against? Right? The same thing at the county level, the same thing at the city level, right? And is the policy that your administration bringing forth, is it for people that look like you? Is it benefited of people that look like you? And when I say this, I mean that in the most general state, right? Because no matter what type of listener you are listening, you got your own community, right? And it's going to be very important for you to make sure that you're building as far as the way your community looks like. Now, me personally, I have a vested interest in ensuring that my community,
as you should,
right? Right. So, but at the same time, this information is going to be it's going to be it can go across all platforms for all types of people because the concept remains the same, right?
So do you think maybe we need more black moderates?
I think that we need more black moderates who understand that it's necessary to become bridges as opposed to gatekeepers.
There you go. That's it, right? One of the biggest things that that's my North Star, is being the bridge between the resources, the elected members, DC to Harrisburg, back to Chester, back to Philly, back to Delaware County, right? And that's the purpose of, I feel like my role is to be that bridge, to be able to communicate from what we need in the community to those that's in power.
Right.
And tell those who in power, that ain't the way to do it.
Right.
That's not how things are going to be done. And if you need it to be done, then this is how you need to move, or else.
Right, for sure. And I think my bridge, like the way I do it, is like where I'm doing information. Because so all throughout the week, all throughout the month, the Most High puts things in my path, right? Puts people in my path. And I learn from them and I look at it. And it'd be like I'll be in my time in meditation and then the connection to be made. And I got to thank God, right? Because I'm like thankful.
That's right.
And then I come and I share it because I'm excited about it, right?
Absolutely.
So my brother, about 10 days ago, I was having a conversation with him. He called me in the morning, and it was pretty early in the morning, right? So it was kind of like during that time where normally I would already be in meditation, and it was like, we was on the phone, but it was still like a communal situation where God was at the center, right? So we had a little bit of worship, we had a little bit of discourse as far as different scripture, but one of the things that came up was he was saying that he had been listening to the senator on the Breakfast Club, and he gave it to me, and I didn't know who she was until he put me on, and I went and listened to the interview, and I was blown away. And the moral of the story is now I'm excited and I want to share it, right? And I think that that's how we become bridges, right? Because now we've got this information in there.
Access to information. I always give credit to where credit's due. The first person I've heard that was, Mayor Kirkland.
Yep.
First person that said access to information.
Absolutely.
That's key.
That is the key, because it don't matter.
You learn something from everybody, and you take something from all people in position of powers, man. And that's something that I really did take from him, and understand the severity and the importance of being that conduit of information. Right.
Sure. Absolutely.
That bridge, because when you get that information, that Nina, how she said black moderates are the gatekeepers, how she said that, dang, something just skipping my mind, but the things she's been saying all throughout that information is pertinent to how we need to move forward, and everything that we're talking about as far as building the nuclear family, protecting the nuclear family, hinging and leveraging our votes, and ensuring that we are educated enough to understand who we're going to represent and put up.
Absolutely.
Down to it.
Absolutely. And then so now the question becomes, well, what do those kind of leaders look like? So I would hearken to the people to say, like, look at a Senator Nina Turner, right? Or look at historical figures, right? So speaking of opportunities and things that come to me throughout the course of the week, I was stumbling along in my studies, and I happened to accidentally learn about a gentleman who was phenomenal by the name of Senator Charles Caldwell.
I gotta ask you though, you're stumbling on history. It's really like, How do you stumble on learning some old ass history? Like
so
that?
what happened? Like it'll be in a book.
Yeah.
Usually a book will reference
Really
another book.
fascinating, man. Yeah.
It is, man.
Because you go down a way like a rabbit hole.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I dig it. I peep how it works. Yeah.
And then so it'll be that, or like if I'm watching a documentary, like the documentary will drop a gem. It's almost like, so I referenced this book before, I reference it again, The Alchemist, right?
That's right.
Like I consider myself Santiago, like on this like path of learning, right? Bro, if it intrigues me, I'm gonna give it an ear, right? And then I'm gonna decide some stuff I filter, and some stuff I write down, and it's like little nuggets of gems, right? Some stuff I might go listen to 2 years from now, and I didn't hear it the first time when I heard it, and get something new from it.
You always hear something differently the second.
Always, man. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon it. So I was listening to a documentary, and it popped up, a little thing like where they have like the little bubbles, the little conversation bubbles that come up.
Yeah.
And one of the things was a mention of a Charles Caldwell.
Okay.
And I was like, well, who is he? And I went in on YouTube, and I found on YouTube who he was. And I was like, oh my gosh, why have I never heard of this man?
Break it down.
So
Who's
let me
Senator
share it,
Caldwell?
So Senator Charles Caldwell was the first black man to be found guilty of murder. He defended himself with an all-white jury during the Reconstruction era, and he got off.
And I'm gonna add a little humor into it. When you say defended himself, all I can think about is that bull with the hair who tried to defend himself about killing.
Oh yeah.
If y'all think I'm green, God damn it, I'm
right. Man, whatever his name was. Well, so if he had have been as articulate as the Senator Charles Caldwell,
absolutely.
and as prepared. So one of the things that the little mini documentary that I looked at about his life spoke about was, and it was only about 15 minutes long. So if you get some time on YouTube, check it out, man. It spoke about how he saw the value in preparedness. The value in preparedness. So he took his time, right? And he combed through all of the information that they had against us, and he presented arguments that you could not refute.
Bro, being prepared is something I think we all take for granted.
For sure.
But when you don't, and you come prepared,
and nobody can stop you.
And as the ladies say, come with your receipts. So he was coming with his receipts.
But so then he parlayed this mindset to everything. So this brother was so far ahead of his time. So a little bit of history. So he was born an enslaved man, right? He was able to develop a skill, right? He was very well known in Mississippi. A little bit of history that I also learned about Mississippi. Mississippi was the largest slave trader state in the country.
It's right there.
Right? They had more millionaires per capita in the Mississippi Delta that got sprung off of the slave trade than anywhere else in the world. More millionaires per capita.
Off of slave labor.
So this gentleman who was born a slave, who ascended through the ranks of labor and was able to become a blacksmith, who had gained a tremendous amount of freedom because of his skill level, that he was able to learn how to read. He was able to learn and do his own thing as he went inside, and he was able to make money on his own and earn. And at the end of slavery and the beginning of Reconstruction, he was so well read, self-taught, self-learned. He was so well read that he was a thought leader in his community and ascended to the Senate. Why? Because they understood during that time that it was very important during Reconstruction to give, and he stood for these ideas: fair representation in Congress for black people, and right,
that was the ability. 1800s.
And no, we talking about this man was born in 1830. He was talking about this. Now, this legislation would not pass until the 1960s.
And see how long?
Almost 100 years later.
The same principles,
right?
We've been fighting for
forever, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, ever. Right. So the great senator, right, participated in the Mississippi Constitutional Convention.
Okay.
As a senator. You understand? Because he was so well read and prepared, right? When the opportunity presented itself, some would call him lucky.
Oh.
Right? I'm gonna say he was prepared.
But you know, they say luck is when opportunity meets preparation. I mean, and the luck is not that you're lucky. It's just, I think, the time period where they actually interchange, where they hit, is luck. But Nonetheless,
You think he went to public school?
Nah.
Because they didn't exist. Yet another thing that he was rallying for, right? A basic education for Negroes, right?
Basic.
A basic education. Education would not later come until it came at the hands of the rich gentleman in oil. I can't think of his name right now, but he wanted to create industry. What was his name? Not Rothschild, but the other one for oil. It'd come back to me.
Because the basic principle of reading of education back in the day was just reading.
Right. But
we couldn't even read.
Right. He wanted to make sure that we could read and that we can develop skills and trades, right? Education system that would prepare you for life, right? This is one of the things that he was standing for. And it was rumored that he was so good that people were fearful of going up against him for debate in a legislature. So what ended up happening was they went to their normal trickery, right? They started attacking his family, attacking his neighborhood, right? Putting up KKK, developing to try to hush him up, right?
Tactics.
And they said that basically, like, because he was rallying people in the neighborhood to stand up for what they believed in,
okay,
right? So this man showed up to vote after they had already attacked him, tried to burn his house up. He showed up to vote alone.
Like what?
Walked down the aisle looking everybody dead in their eyes.
Like what?
Like what? Because you thought you was going to make me not vote? You thought you was going to scare me? Because he understood, like the brother Killmonger.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
He understood that death
That's right.
is better than bondage.
Better than bondage.
And he understood what it means from a firsthand perspective of what it's like to live in bondage, right? But have the mindset of a free man because he was a blacksmith. He was self-educated. He learned on his own. He ascended to the U.S., to the Mississippi Constitutional Convention, right? And then when he started rallying black folks behind him to do the same, and the wild successes of the Reconstruction era, right, directly put at risk the wealth of every one of those millionaires that was created per capita.
That's right.
So that fear, because I know that all I brought to the table was my ability to enslave humans, and that's why I got rich. Right, that
was passed
fear
down to you.
Was so strong, right, that they saw the numbers and realized that there was more Africans, formerly enslaved Africans, who were now about to be citizens in Mississippi than there were former slave owners.
That's right.
Right, so they went on a killing spree, and in the midst of that killing spree, this senator still said, "I'm coming to vote." Right, and in the end, guess how they ended up getting him?
What is it? How's it?
They got his best friend. Got him to turn on him during the Christmas time, invited him down for a drink.
They always say it's your friends, bro.
Always say it, right? Invited him down for a drink, and as he took the shot, they stood behind him and shot him in his head. My man didn't die. Because he still didn't shut up. He walked out of the house into the street to make sure that he was seen. And he yelled to everybody present, let it be known here that a man was murdered, right? That a man was murdered, and it was not a fearful man.
Wow.
And that you could not shut him up, not even in killing him.
Wow.
Right? And then he requested to be laid there so that everybody could see it. And they granted his request because at the same time where he wanted to make a message that you didn't fear me, they wanted to make a message that I'm willing to kill you. Right? And then now we know Mississippi and we know where it stands in the Union today. Right? And we understand its politics today.
Wow. You know what's crazy? And what I hear in that, and I always go back to voting, is that he ice grilled the people who burnt his house, threatened him, beat him up, and still went to go vote. Yep. And then still continued to do work. They had a militia. Listen, he had gotten all the way in good with the governor and everything. Like they had a militia protecting him, right? And they was able to build up the community because they didn't have the outside forces coming in because he had the ear and the reverence and the respect of the governor at the time. And then what ended up happening was through fear, they ended up flipping the governor. The governor basically wrote back when he dismantled the militia and was like, it had to be done. Yeah. He knew then that he had been betrayed, and he knew then that at that point that he would be killed. Right. But it still didn't stop him. It still didn't stop him.
he still continued to rally and teach our people with his dying breath, right? And I'm starting to realize, and I've said this before, so I got to stop saying I'm starting to realize. I have now realized.
You have arrived.
I've arrived, right? The understanding that change will not come unless we're willing to stand and be willing to die for what we believe in.
What King say? I stand on business. See our son. I stand on business.
Stand on business.
And we need to stand on business.
We need to stand on business.
That
man stood on business.
He stood on it.
He refused to fall.
And we start talking about intimidation factor and tactics. This man was completely intimidated to the point where in today's climate, all those people will be jailed, right?
Yeah.
But here we are.
Hopefully.
And here I'm going back on it.
Hopefully. Because Derek Chauvin got off on some charges.
Yeah. But here we are today, still thinking there's a lot of hurdles. There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of problems that prevents us to vote.
Right.
And we touched on this last show, and I couldn't let it go because we were talking about trends, right? Mm-hmm. And then that one meme that said, "Black folk know every trend, but
sticking together."
Sticking together.
Facts.
Right. So I'm thinking about the trends that's done, right? And now let's break this down with these trends, right? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put it together. So now in these trends, now when you take selfies, and these is for the ladies and most people too. When you take selfies and post them on Instagram or say Facebook, how many of them do you need to take before you actually post?
Right, before they find the right one.
Right. 15, 20. That's still like 5-10 minutes to get your pose right. It's more like to get it right and push it out there, right? So those TikTok trends with the dancing and the roof drawn and the ceiling, how many times you think you have to do that in order to get the right one posted? A few of them, right? That's like about a half hour worth of work.
Nah, at least, bro. My little basic reels that I be making take about a half an hour. So I'm talking the complexity that it take to do different challenges with transitions and to keep it on beat. I think it's more than a half hour.
So you tell me that you can take an hour out of your day to do a trend that's going to die in a week, and not to take the 10 minutes to go vote that's going to last 4 years or a lifetime,
right?
So you telling me 10 minutes to vote,
and then 50 minutes to understand who you voting for.
If that,
right? And then that's once a year. And right? How many challenges do they participate in a year?
Once a year. Yeah. You're participating in multiple challenges. Remember when we was in a pandemic, all those challenges that was out?
Right.
But you can't take 5 minutes to go to the joint and go. How hard is it to push a button?
Right.
But it's hard as hell to tape that shit to the ceiling.
Right. But I don't
even know those dances, bro. Like I
also want to challenge America, though. Right. I want to challenge America. Right. Because everything else is electronic. Right. But we still out here in some states voting on paper. That shit's about control.
Yo, I'm with you.
Right.
I'm with you.
Why can't we vote electronically? You could verify us all the way up to the wazoo, right? Right.
These are the most
secure.
Yes, and they are your digital footprint.
They are.
This is your DNA.
So you could verify very easily 1-for-1 votes. While we still got to physically go out somewhere and vote. This is part of the problem. That's voter disenfranchisement.
To log in, you got to put your thumbprint.
Right. So you got biometrics and everything. Yeah, it could very much be done to where we could start casting our vote through some kind of secure app.
And I believe there should be a modernization of it. Like,
and then how about this? Why not? And do we at this point in time now? Right? How much of the stuff that the Congress votes on can you just do a quick referendum of the people? Right?
A few.
You know what I mean? Because at this point now, it's easy enough to set up.
That's right.
So why you don't take referendum votes for stuff? Why we got to pass through Congress, right? Download a United States Citizen referendum app.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you got the ability to do it.
Yeah.
You know how I know? Because how many people did you give direct deposit to for them checks? Huh?
No, you're right.
Huh?
You're right.
And they verified it. I bet you they didn't send two people the same check. I bet you that they knew that money was going to the right person.
Absolutely.
I bet you Never Land they did. Right?
Absolutely.
So it can be done. It can be done.
Well, why won't they want to do it?
Because then that's going to give too much wide access and too many people that's going to lose their power.
It's too much power.
But while we out here playing the game, just like you make sure that we pay our taxes, right? How about we get representation?
That's right.
Because you know what happened the last time we was paying taxes on something without representation. right? And that was over tea.
Taxation without
taxation without representation. And I ain't talking about tea, right? Now we talking about real life stuff. We got real life red line communities, right? How about that? We got real life communities that my grandmother had been living in, right? That we still don't own, right? We got second and third generation taxpayers that's not getting representation of citizenship, right? So history all the way back from Senator Charles Caldwell, right? All the way back to the 60s when they passed the voting right legislation. And then we got Senator Nita Turner speaking today, right, in 2023 about how all of those spirits are manifested today. Right. And then how much more proof do we have in it? Let's get out of politics. Is there any other examples in the world of people not getting their just due? Right. Based on.
And I was about to say that because when it comes down to it, you know, I was looking at something earlier and I was looking at the Taraji P. Henson joint.
Oh, and acting.
You know, and she was breaking down on, you know, how she felt like she's not getting paid the way that she needs to get paid. And I was just wondering, like, and they broke it down to, like, you know, how, you know, she was say she get $10 million for a scene. $10 million is now chopped to 50% to Uncle Sam. Now she got 5. Now she got a team full of folks, and the team full of folks, you know, needs 30% for the agents. This for that, that for that. So now that $5 million, that $5 million is now to like $300,000.
Yeah,
and now that's all they have. And she started to break down she's saying, like, all right, why is it that we are not paid to the place where we felt like is like, why aren't we compensated enough,
right,
according to our talent? And that made me also start to think, like, what is going on with that? Like, is our complexion is the reason why we don't get compensated enough, or is it that we are, you know, stuck into an imposter syndrome,
right,
where we don't feel like we're good enough to advocate and lobby for equal or demanding pay, right? Because we already know our culture, we're taught you got to be 2 times smarter, you got to be 3 times more available, and you got to be 20 times better in order to just get in the room.
Right. And that's exhausting.
And it's exhausting. So now we in the room, we get the interview, right? So now I'm already 20 times better than the Chad or the Michael or my counterparts that's going to be interviewing with me.
Yeah.
Now I get to the table, and now I'm a little bit nervous on my compensation to say, hey, I demand this amount of money.
Right.
But we always stumble and get a little scared when it comes down to our compensation.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to understand what is it that makes us so, I want to say scared. I want to say scared, or maybe just a little bit of
you know, I think it's a couple of things, right? So I'm gonna start off with because the Marine Corps, they taught us to shoot at the immediate threat, right? So the obvious one is the conditioning, right? I think that we have been conditioned to believe that we deserve less than, because, like, you know, you ever heard of the theory of the broken window concept, where if you like you start off with fixing the little small things and then the other stuff will come up.
Change,
you know, so I think that we've grown up by and large in neighborhoods where there's broken windows and boarded up windows, and we throw trash in our community, and you know, we have just old rundown houses in general, because most of our communities was built from the 1940s when they had transient housing for World War II, right? And it was supposed to be transient temporary housing, and that's what turned into what we now know the slums as the slums, right? And those slums, as they get upgraded because they become so dilapidated that they crush down, and then it becomes this big political thing, and then they dump money into it to rebuild it, and then it does it, but it's still not built quality, right? It's still not built based on all of this stuff. And we have all of these things around us that kind of like show us subconsciously that we're less than. So then now it's time for us to go in and try to compete with our peers. And we already have this foundation that we believe that we're less than. And I think that that's part of it, right? And I think that that's like the superficial top part of it.
So what I'm hearing you saying is that we've been conditioned over generations of time, and it's now in our DNA that we believe that we're not
Yeah.
good enough.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit.
So we kind of like, and it comes because so what we believe in is a
I don't
result.
disagree. It's just
For sure. It's just a result of the inputs that we
It's
have.
just sinking in.
And I feel like even if you have amazing parents, because there are a lot of shout out to the amazing parents who raising their kids,
Every one of them. Our
and
parents,
working
your
their
parents,
ass off, right?
absolutely.
And the reality is that you can have amazing parents who instill love in you, right, and instill inspiration in you, and checking off all of the boxes for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But there's something to be said about environment. Right. And black people in America, we got two different environments. We have the environment where we live amongst people that look like ourselves, and which is the red line communities that we spoke about. And then we have the environment of the black bourgeoisie or the black upper middle class, who has the ability to live in neighborhoods that don't look like themselves. Right. And so I've been fortunate, thank God, right, that I've been able to experience both. Provided for my time when I was in the Marine Corps, I made some really good financial decisions, and I was able to buy a foreclosed house in a very, very
Upcoming neighborhood?
well, it wasn't upcoming. It was established. This neighborhood goes back to old slave money.
Okay.
The name of it was Pleasant Point Plantation. It's a golf course in the Low Country in South Carolina.
Nice.
Beautiful neighborhood, right? I got a steal of a house, right? In the South, amazing, beautiful house. I lived there, and I encountered racism in the clubhouse from people who rented, and I owned my house, right? But the mentality was as such where it was like, you know, what is this guy doing here because of the color of my skin? Little did he know, like, I got an email and I understand you're a renter. So I went up and I introduced myself. Hey, I'm Andrew Nelson. I own at 35 Barnwell, right? Because a little reminder, motherfucker, I belong here. This is my house.
I do that
You
in Marcus Look a lot too.
Yeah.
I own since 2007.
Yeah.
Do you want to do the math? I was 26.
Right.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Right. So, but what I realized was that there were little subtle harassments that I had to endure. Right. And although I had amazing neighbors in my cluster near me, shout out to the people who don't see issues with diversity. Right. Yeah. I had amazing neighbors that lived around me, but the general tone that I experienced from the politics of the community was an indication that this ain't exactly where I want to be at and raise my kids. And I think that that's by and large the options that we're given as black people in America.
That's the scary part, bro, because, you know, and not to stop you, but when my wife and I start to think about where we want to move, the number one topic in our mind is, do we want to subject our daughter to the complications of bigotry, racism,
right,
and fear of retaliation of this little black girl not supposed to be here?
Right.
That's effed up, man.
It is.
But that's our daily. That's what we have to, our daily lives. Like, that's something we have to consider at all times.
Right, for sure. So now at this point in life, I've decided that if I'm gonna live, because I understand now that life is gonna come with some form of struggle. Andrew Nelson will rather struggle alongside people that look like me and understand me, as opposed to me feeling like if shit hit the fan, then I'm alone. You understand?
That's another scary part, bro.
So
you don't want to be alone.
I don't want to be alone.
Fan, you don't want to look to your left and your right, and no one's behind you,
right.
bro. Like you're the only one there. Yeah, absolutely.
And I kind of feel like that's the plight of people who move outside of their communities, right? Because the world is shifting, the world is changing. We got old mentalities and old things that have never been answered for, right? Coming home to crow. So then that was the first one, and then real quick, the second one, other part. So I think the society that we lived in has been forcing and tell us for generations that we're less than, right? I believe that in the foundation they considered us 3/5.
So,
right?
So are they only paying us 3/5 of a salary? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying that the Constitution referred to enslaved Africans as 3/5 of a person, right? As if you could put a fraction on that shit.
That shit is wild, bro.
That's what I mean. No, I mean how the general founding document of this country has considered us less than, and it's been perpetuated in its policy ever since.
Because if they counted us as one, then we have the voting power.
Right. So the other part of it is, and I think that this is less talked about, the Bible speaks about God's people and it says that the law will be imprinted on our hearts. I don't believe that by nature we're a greedy people. I believe that greed has been taught to us. And I believe that we have had so many generations of people that have gone without for so long that when given the opportunity to have, we splurge because that shit feels good.
Finally.
It's like a little taste of life finally. Right? And I think that gets misconstrued as greed. I do not believe that we as a people are greedy because I believe the law is imprinted on our hearts.
Absolutely.
So the other part of it is, why is it such of a struggle for us to get our worth? Right? Because our worth is not tied to money.
Okay.
So when we go in and ask for money, right, we only really tend to ask for what we need because the law is imprinted on our heart because we're not greedy by nature.
Yeah, and you're right. We're not tied. Who we are is not tied to money. But I think because of that, once we get that financial freedom, is what they fear.
For sure.
Because then the true essence of who we are comes out because there's no restrictions.
That's a fact.
There's no anchors and nothing that's holding us down from succeeding and doing the things that we plan to do. Because a lot of times the reason why we're in the conditions that we're in is because we're financially strapped.
For sure.
And the only thing that's on our mind is
by
how
design.
to get the next
by design.
Yeah, the next paycheck, or how to get the next bill paid, or how to make sure you get the next lick. Like so it's a distraction.
Yes.
It is a distraction, and we have to continuously change that narrative, right? And use our platform to teach people to listen. You are worth more than what you're putting out there.
For sure.
And no HR person or no panel of people should tell you that you're only worth X, and when you know you're worth Y.
Right.
So don't be scared to push back, because a lot of times we get scared to push back.
We do.
Oh, they're gonna snatch it from us. Oh, if I say no, then they're gonna go.
And if all that happens, it was never yours to begin with.
Boom.
Sister or brother.
Exactly. So if it's yours, and we have to stay in a position where we got to say, look, I know what I'm worth now, man.
For sure.
And you know what I'm worth.
Right.
And I'm not going to take anything less or do anything otherwise than what I need to do to get out of this,
And our sister Taraji pointed out that we got a brother that was the first person that gave her the opportunity to where he paid her worth, right? Because sis said in one of the her speech, she said that a lot of people wondering why we work so many jobs, and she said it's because we have to, right? And we spoke about earlier on, why is it that we don't go in and demand our worth and all of that? Well, this brother Tyler Perry said, you know what? Stop trying to go beg for your worth at the table. And I'm going to reference this back into the 3/5. If the foundation of this country said that they didn't look at us as a whole human, why are we ever expecting to get our full worth from people who established the country, who didn't even view us as human, and has yet to make legislation and see it through that honors the reparation of the foundation and the economic boost that this country has received through enslaved Africans, and the economic boost that this country has received through the stolen communities after the Reconstruction era, like the community of the brother Charles Caldwell, like the community of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and like the hundreds of other communities across the United States who have been wiped out through eminent domain so that they could build highways and byways, and so that they can build local stores or Central Park, right? Because another black community was destroyed so that Central Park could become Central Park, right? And there's been no legislation that has been put forth to repair any of those things. So that's why I always emphasize on by design, and why I think it's a little mind-blowing that we keep on trying to demand our just due from a table. And Tyler Perry said, you know what? I'm going to build my own table, and I'm going to give my own people their worth, and I'm going to make it simple and easy for us to earn.
Yeah. So to push back on that, though,
Okay.
right? Okay. These communities and these tables that we're supposed to be building, we are, as a people, we are now generations in as some elites, some rich, some wealthy, and all of us is mostly educated enough to understand, the problems of the past and how to rectify them for the future.
Right. Hopefully.
Yeah. Right. Why is it that all of these, let's just say, black metropolises that we hear that, Tyler Perry has, or LeBron James has, and this person has, why they feel more symbolic than they do feel realistic?
Oh.
Why is it that I can't go out and touch a community that's developed all over the nation. Like the way that JP Morgan Chase has banks all over the land, the way that all these developers have different housing all over in every hood, like in every black neighborhood, you can find 3 things, right? So like a Chinese store, this, that,
store,
like stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So why is it that these top earners, these multi-billionaires, they can't replicate that same blueprint? And every neighborhood should be a Magic Johnson, LeBron James, Oprah Winfrey, Bob Johnson, something in every neighborhood. There's enough money there.
It is.
But feels like every time that we talk about our leader, or not our leaders, but our financially elite, all of their give backs seem ceremonial or fictitious, because I'm not even gonna lie, I don't know if I've ever patronized any establishment from those billionaires other than entertainment.
Okay, that's fair. So you spitting. My brother is spitting today. So I think that in short, it feels symbolic because largely it is, right? So I don't believe that Tyler Perry is symbolic. Tyler Perry has created a network, right? Not to be confused with a show, but a network.
Yeah.
And Tyler Perry, underneath his network, has his own recording studios. He's producing his own content. He's hiring his own artists. He's creating his own series. He's creating his own movies, and he's doing it off of his own money. He didn't take out loans. He wrote his own movies off of small budgets. They went really big, and he reinvested all of that money. That is not symbolic. That is vertical integration. Tyler Perry stands in a lane of his own.
I get that.
The other person who I think is doing what he's doing is the gentleman we spoke about in prep, Byron Allen, right? But Byron Allen is trying to do something a little bit differently, right? Tyler Perry is trying to become BET. Byron Allen is trying to become Xfinity.
Yeah, Byron Allen is
understand?
trying to become CBS.
So I think that Byron Allen is trying to push the frontier to another level, and I think I'll give that man mad respect.
Absolutely.
Right? But so I think that the entertainment industry has enough money going around to where there's a big enough piece of the pie where a Tyler Perry can carve out his own lane like that and become successful. I don't believe that the pillars that we need to be able to make the real change that I think you're referring to, and now I think you sounded like the brother Umar when we speak of that, right? With all of these billionaires, right, and these black elites that we have, we need to start funding research hospitals.
Bam.
And we need to start funding schools that build up trades to and here's the magic,
Schools,
right?
hospitals,
Right.
banks.
So stuff that actually is economy building.
Tangible.
Right? Not service shit.
Yes.
Right? Because I think that it's amazing what the brother Tyler Perry is doing.
Absolutely.
Mad respect to Tyler Perry. And that builds entertainment economy.
That's right.
But we need to build structural economy.
And
right?
even if he's doing
So-
that, at least there's a Sun Center Studios here in Aston, right? You can do a satellite Tyler Perry, black owned, black ran, black.
But how about this
Phil?
though, right? Because so who's to say that he's opposed to that? And I think that maybe this is an opportunity for you and I to go look at that place, and then there's a solid pitch to Tyler, right? So that we could bring that there.
Yeah.
Because I think that anything that is done is going to be done based off of leveraging the strength of others to work together for the common good, right? And I feel like that's a good segue.
And absolutely. Because we were talking about, building these things, and I was going to touch on the topic of what you start Byron Allen, the media empire. If he's going to be Xfinity, he can have a hub here. Why can't? Why can't that be here?
I think part of it because right now he getting shut down left and right and up and down.
So when the thing is, we still trying to chase, and I don't know the brother business, and I can't speak on some things. But guess what? We got internet now. We got Tubi. We got Netflix. We got Max. So now we don't necessarily need to use the same foundational structure because there's more platforms for it.
Right.
And we just need to start looking at we're trying to chase their table. Right. We don't need to keep chasing that table.
Yeah.
We can build something completely different to the times that's serving our community. Yeah. And that's where it's at with it, man. Because we keep looking at theirs and we don't look at ours.
Right.
And as you were saying, the segue looking at ours, I wanted to talk about the Congressional Black Caucus. And the Congressional Black Caucus.
Can you tell me about that?
So Brother Jamal Bowman, congressman out of New York, I believe Brooklyn. Don't get me wrong. Hopefully I got that right, Brother Bowman.
Nah, I think that's right. I think the brother is
He
from
always
Brooklyn.
reminds me.
I think that's right.
What's up, Congressman? He stated that the Black Caucus should now focus their energy behind issues that's plaguing Africa.
Wait, hold the presses. Stop the press. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
So is this brother asserting that the Congressional Black Caucus is going to be focused on issues that plague Black communities?
So according to him, as the U.S. is so, prioritizing everybody else's war, particularly the new one in Israel and then particularly Ukraine, there has been little to zero. I want to say zero attention paid to the terrorists, to the issues that's going in Sudan and the the Republic of Congo. And these are folks who have been going through years and years of terrorism, of death, of ethnic cleansing, but we don't
speak up on it at all, right?
So, what is the purpose of a Black Caucus if we don't put up Black problems?
Right.
If we don't speak up for those and use our platform and use our bully pulpit to help give aid to those who look like us and needs us our attention, or those who just for who we represent.
I like
because
that
the Black
term.
Caucus says you got to come from an African diaspora.
Right.
You got to be from one of those. You have to be a descendant.
Right.
So what is a descendant of African diaspora? The the continent of Africa.
For sure.
So why is it that our Black Caucus, our Congressional Black Caucus, didn't spearhead this a long time ago?
Because the leaders that were looking to organize on a large level and understand the plight of Black people on a large scale, like the brother El Haj Malik El Shabazz, right? That brother was assassinated because he was looking to bring the United States before the United Nations for crimes against humanity, right? In partnership with Cuba, in partnership with Muammar Gaddafi, right? In partnership with the rest of the Eastern brown world, right? Yeah. So that agenda was quashed with the murder facilitated.
Don't you find it always so ironic that anytime that something of any merit comes up, it disappears? That is,
pull yourself up by your bootstrap.
And every time we try to pull ourselves by the bootstrap, who is cutting the motherfucking strings?
Right. And the soul.
Right.
Right. And then leaving you with a rip.
And saying, why?
And then talking about you, why
you do that? And then why you so mad?
Right. And you're so lazy.
You're angry. Yeah, because every time I try to do something, you maliciously, systematically, viciously.
I get it.
So what we have to do is support what Brother Jamal is doing.
We definitely need to support it. And what does that look like?
That support comes in a lot of ways. For one, I'm gonna always go back to it. Keep them in office. We keep them in office by voting, right? So in order for us to continue to have a Black Caucus and have a growth of a Congressional Black Caucus, we need more Black leaders. Right. So the more the numbers, the more the strength. Secondly, then we start having the Black Caucus start to empower other state Black caucuses, right? So Pennsylvania has a legislative Black Caucus.
Yep, sure do.
I actually sit on the board of the foundation of the Pennsylvania Legislative Black Caucus. I sit on the board for the Pennsylvania Democratic State Committee Black Caucus. I sit as one of the conveners as the Delaware County Black Caucus, right?
Right. So all of those satellite caucuses need to work together collectively towards pushing the same agenda, right?
Absolutely.
But then we also got to, as a Black people and part of the Black diaspora, we need to define an agenda.
Defined agenda with the resources that come with it.
For sure.
Right? Because honestly, things get done differently when it comes with the shield behind it, whether it's a congressional shield, a Senate shield, a state rep shield, a council person shield, a school board shield, right? And one of the biggest advantages we have is the access to these individuals, right? So you can have a community person who's in the neighborhood have access to that school board director or that senator or that council person and say, hey, this is the issues. Let's team together and let's do it.
Right.
And then they can say, okay, we already have a priority. We already have something in mind, or we already have a list coming from the Congress and Senate. Well, it was only like 2 black senators, but them where the funding is available, there's already a priority list, and now we can do is a sharing cycle. It's not trickle down. It's we feed them, they provide us the information, and we use their pulpit to push it forward.
And then on the grassroots level, we need people pushing and herding numbers to those states in the South that are almost 50-50. We needed to see another black migration to those states because that's the only way we're going to get those numbers in the Senate up from 2.
You're absolutely right. And you kind of hit something because I just shared with you earlier about one of the black women out there in Luzerne County being the very first black commissioner in Luzerne County. Yeah. And also had the opportunity to talk to a woman who was running for commissioner in Lycombe County. Yeah. That's Center PA, right? And these places have black folk in it, but they don't get the support because it's rural or non-city, right? And when we start talking about that migration can start one with those cities as well, but also here in the States where those I'm not going to say red, but those counties that doesn't quite have the diversity and doesn't quite reflect everyone can need that help because it's challenging.
Yeah, my concern with that though, bro, is that we're not being strategic with our already limited numbers, right? So I'm with you, right? And I think that if it's what Pennsylvanians want as a whole, if native Pennsylvanians that look like us say, you know what, we want to stand here and fight it out, by all means, rock out. But what I'm arguing is that those native Pennsylvanians who feel like they're not getting their just due in those rural parts of the states, I'm asserting move to a state in the South that has better numbers to where your numbers will matter more. Because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done and the smoke clears, what good does it do that you're going to flip the city or even the county if you don't have power in the state house to push your agenda? That means that you're going to be a glorified person in power that is powerless to change the status quo.
And I see your point on that too. But I also think that, you know, that migration that you're saying to those states, you still need the support of others, right? Yeah. So even if I go to Mississippi or Alabama to those places that doesn't necessarily look like us to start that, right? It'll still require the same type of action that it is for those out in rural PA.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah, right. And the only difference is we doing the action in a place where it's going to double it. We'll get the county and city support, but we'll also strengthen our Senate support, right? Which actually is going to give us the tip that we need to pull our agenda forward. So that's all I'm saying. Just be more strategic with our movement.
And I totally agree with that. Yeah. And one of the things that we were talking about is how to help those folks, right? Yeah. And because that plan is going to require steps. Yeah. And what we discussed, myself and Mike Laws, who's the state committee Black Caucus chair, as okay, if you are in these counties that don't look like you, let's get together, put out the bat signal. We're going to load up a bus, kind of like back in the day, and we just going to show up. Right? Because one of the things that we can do that doesn't really cost you anything is show up and support. Right. And when you were there in numbers and at your inauguration, or if you sitting there putting a bill on the floor and you see people in that room that looks like you, and they's like, damn, well, you got people all over coming to support. And when I start thinking about that, I think about that scene on Malcolm X when he was in the hospital and the cop. Oh yeah, and he did this.
No one man should have all that. Yeah,
right. And they were just standing there,
perplexed.
They were just standing, and the nation was just standing there. They didn't even do anything.
Right. It was just a force.
And just a force. And that is symbolic to how we can help. If you don't want to be in the politics, you ain't got no legislation. Right. You ain't got no policy. Just listen. Just ride out with us real quick.
Right.
Hey, yo, let's take this trip out to Luzerne County. Let's take this trip out to Wycombe County. Let's take this trip out to Center County real quick and just stand there. You know what I mean? It's a couple hours, but hey, look, we just stand there.
But what I say to the brother is we got to become the Malcolm X, right? Because ain't nobody going to take that trip until somebody galvanizes them to take that trip. Right? So whatever we do, I'm going to say is like whatever it is, we just need to do it. And we need to do it together and be organized.
And
right?
there.
So if we gonna flip PA and make PA,
we can make it
solid.
We can make it solid. Cool, at least deep purple.
Right. I mean, cool. But whatever it is, we just need an agenda.
Yeah. And they there. We just gotta we gotta, like you're saying, we gotta just get and do it. Because every Malcolm X need a sidekick, man.
For sure.
You know what I mean? They need somebody else to help them out, man. Not a sidekick, but you need the help. You know what I'm saying? So it's tough doing it on your own.
Right. Malcolm X couldn't have done it without the nation.
Right. Nope. And, and unfortunately, as you've seen it during his descending, when the nation pulled back, things got a little difficult, right? And that just shows you how the support of a family or support of a unit is necessary when you're out here battling. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And also the truth of the matter is, Martin Luther King couldn't have done it without Adam Clayton Powell and Lyndon B. Johnson.
And the Rainbow Coalition. What was he had?
Well, that was afterwards. The Rainbow Coalition came with that was Jesse Jackson and what they tried to do with Fred Hampton. Right.
What was it?
That was the continuation of Fred Hampton.
We're gonna look at some of these comments. Stacy says, "Those of us that are in the room don't hold the door to get those of us who are deserving in."
Right. We got to be bridges.
Hey, that's a fact. Again, if you are in this room, just symbolic room, this hypothetical room, our responsibility is to bring in those behind you. That's just point blank. Everyone else does it. They call it nepotism. So why is it now different for you or us? We have to emphasize that our history is a foundation, but each individual has the potential to contribute uniquely to the world. Encourage them to explore their passions, talents, and dreams, fostering a sense of identity beyond historical narratives. That's from Tierra Gully. Absolutely. Become the table. That's right. Our table gonna look a little different. You know, our table gonna look like, what's those brothers that make those wood the wood tables from the trees and right.
Well, I mean, we got one. L. You talking about L?
Yeah,
L. Absolutely.
Right. That's what our tables got to start looking like.
Man, and L's tables are fire.
Our tables got to look like that. It comes with the 4 legs, of course, but it just has to be built differently. We can't keep mimicking them and thinking why it's not working, right? Our tables got to look a lot different, man.
Right, I agree. That was a great analogy, man. Shout out to L, man, with that amazing art. Speaking of, while we looking up that, man, another shout out. So listen, man, Corey Long with Making a Change Group. What the brother is doing in the community is phenomenal. Absolutely. You got the G's Mentoring G's program. You got the Connected Families program. I've been able to witness G's Mentoring G's, and that's a group of the old heads just giving back to young boys who need it, right? Giving them guidance. Connected Families is a little bit more dynamic. You know, it has the adults, they commune together, and the children with age groups, they commune together. And the families discuss topics anywhere from personal finance to emotional development. And, you know, the good part about it is the benefit that I could see in it is you get the group benefit. So you got the older parents giving back and pouring into the younger parents. You got the middle-aged parents that are kind of bridging the gap between the younger and the older parents. And ultimately what it does is it creates a connected family base, and it moves us from individuals to community. So what I like about Corey is Corey's been working to get grants, right, to build these programs out. And in the process of doing so, he's changing people's lives. And the most recent event that he put on was that he took a group of kids and some of their parents to the Sixers game. And they got to be Sixers for the day. Right. And it was really cool because the little kids, they got signed. Like they put them in a room like it was like signing day. They signed little day contracts. They got personalized jerseys.
Yo, that was
they got
you can't change.
It was a great experience, man. They got a show by the 76ers, which is the drum corps. Really? And they had 76ers dance girls there. They put a show on for them. They went out on the basketball court and did skills development and stuff with a former Sixers, Mark Jackson or something like that. Mark Jackson. Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. He was basically like their pep rally guru for a couple hours straight. And then afterwards they got gifts. They went out. They got gifts and stuff. sponsored by Giant Food Stores. Okay. And then afterwards, they got to watch the game, and they was able to high five the players coming in, but giving them an experience. And one thing that made the difference with me growing up, bro, traveling and experiences. That's what set it apart.
Got to get out of your zip code, bro.
And I think it's amazing what Corey is doing. So shout out to Corey for that.
Yeah, Corey's, man, he's been a staple in this community. Yeah. Since I've been out here. So been holding it down. Brother, keep doing the good work, man. You know, keep pushing through. You are an example to those that's following you. And continue to pull other folks in to help replicate what you got going on, man. Because, you know, we all can't do this isolated. We all can't do it alone. And we're big on, you know, adding Pirellis to the tire instead of just
for sure
recreating the wheel.
Right. So we just want to enhance it a little bit.
Absolutely. Yeah. So give game and continue to bring folks in and keep doing what you're doing, Corey, because we already know we talk a lot, brother. You know, you got my support wholeheartedly.
Sure. Shout out to CMP Radio, man. So far ahead of their time, giving the voice of the community an opportunity, right? Because the truth of the matter is now we have a platform to where we could be before the people. And now it's staged, and this work will be set and here available to view for forever.
Yo, and you're right, man. And thanks to P and thanks to Les and the board of CMP, man, and to give us this platform to provide the narrative to the community. Because when you put the Breakfast Club up, I started to think about how each political candidate goes through their channel in order to get to the people.
For sure. And this is a local media.
And this is the local media. And whose network is larger than yours and mine, bro?
Right.
Whose network larger than yours and mine amplified with CMP? Right. So you know what I want is to, and I'm gonna make this request, and I'm gonna make a statement. And I kind of always joke around with people and say, definitely my people that's not from Delaware County. I say, when you come to Delaware County, you got to check in.
Definitely.
You know, I'm like Trick and Whack 100 and I'm like those boys and the Crips and the Kids. You got to check in when you come to Delaware County, right?
Come holler at us.
So don't come to Delaware County and don't let us know.
Right.
And with that being said is those who are running for office. See, in 2024, we have a large political swath coming up, right? So we got the presidential, we got the senatorial, U.S. senatorial, we have Congress, right? We have our state rep seats, right? And am I missing one?
And then there's going to be,
I think
this December. I mean, this general coming up. No, there are no local council elections.
No local. Okay, so this one is more state and federal.
Yep.
So in order for you to come through here, we want to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
We want to give you the opportunity, if you're running for any of those offices, to sit down and really talk to the people of Chester, talk to the people of this community, talk to the people of Delaware County. And we want to hear what your narrative. We want to hear what you have to say and what your plans are and how we're going. Oh, I'm sorry, Attorney General. There we go.
Oh, right.
Attorney
absolutely.
General,
and Auditor General.
Auditor General.
Yep.
Even Treasurer, right? And during state committee, I had asked them poignant questions during Black Caucus and saying, I don't care about what you've done.
Right.
I don't care about, hey, I was the first person that was elected out of my county and I did this and I don't care.
Right. Because what does your resume speak since then?
Yeah.
Right.
So the question was, when you get that seat, how are you going to address issues that affect this community?
There we go.
Right. And I don't want to hear nothing else. This community. Right. So I want to also put that out there. When you come here, how are you going to address this community?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? What is your plans? Right? How are you going to economically empower us? How are you going to make sure that you're just not coming in for the vote?
For sure.
Right? What are you going to do? Are you going to have a satellite office here?
Right.
So again, to all those political consultants that's out there that's running these campaigns, we want you to bring your candidate here.
We sure do. Because I hear all the time, how do we get Chester involved?
That's right.
How do we get Chester to come out and vote?
And
let's get you in front of Chester.
And truth be told, the climate of Chester has changed.
It has.
Right? The way that you used to come into the city to get political ears has changed. Yeah. And now the way to get those ears is through here.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's what it is, you know. And in order to get that, come talk to us.
So I believe the numbers show, and Pierre can quote me on this, but every candidate who came through the radio station, right, and put their platform out through the radio station, won their and got sponsorships, they won their seat.
Whoa.
Right?
Whoa.
Every single one.
Whoa.
So I'm never gonna profess to be the wisest man, right? But the big brother,
but
the
if I want to win,
Sean Corey, he said men lie, women lie, and numbers don't.
Numbers don't.
Right? So simply put, right? Come on out to the show.
Come on out.
Right? Let's get your platform before the people.
That's right.
Let's get some sponsorships going, so we can get the support and let's start winning and changing the narrative.
Changing.
Right? Simply put, right? We got to take our politics into our own hands.
That's right.
Right? And we want to make sure that our people is getting the representation from the people. Right? So come out. We love to hear from you.
That's right.
We love to sit down with you. We love to talk to you. Right? Check in and tap in.
Don't be, and it's
Don't be
not
a
an intimidation thing. It's not
No,
scared.
not at all.
It's none of
We
the less.
family.
We family. We want to have a good discussion. You know me.
Right. Nobody getting sandbagged.
Right? No.
Nobody. Right?
And you know we won't do that to you.
Right, at all. It ain't gonna be no bias or nothing like that. What we really want to do is we want to get the people in front, like we want to get you in front of the people so that the people can make informed decisions. And we want to ask questions that's gonna help shape policy. That's all.
That's it.
Right? So we all got the same goals. We all want to see our community be better.
That's right.
Right?
That's
and
right.
we want to change the narrative.
Let's change the narrative, man. And that's what all it's about. Well, it sounds like we had another home run today, man. This is
I agree, man. It's a good show, good conversation.
Yeah,
we touched a lot of really good points.
Absolutely. So again, thank you all for joining us again, man. To Stacy, to Tierra, to all those who clicked in, man. Dakeem, I see that you was on there.
Yep.
Continue to share our stuff, man. Share the page to your page, man. Have people who listen to the conversation. You can always hear it. If it's not live, come tune in, man. Our show is a great drive into work, bro. It really gets you engaged. It's a great listen when you're at work, right?
For sure.
And you're typing and doing some things.
Because you don't really got to see what we doing.
No,
it's all about the conversation.
Yeah, exactly. This is the talk radio that I used to hate. My dad used to listen to, and now I became that boy.
Definitely, that's me all day, all day.
I love talk radio because his mind is provoking.
It is.
Man.
It is indeed. It's thought provoking.
Yeah, it's thought provoking, man.
Yep.
But we go ahead and close this one out, man. My name is Malcolm Yates.
My name is Andrew Nelson.
Hey, man, and we are the narrative.
Yes, indeed.
This is my heritage, all I'm inheriting, money and power.